let's get into talk about some happier times there. Let's talk about a guy who played for the Giants for just a few years here, 80s, early 90s. He's trying to get in the Hall of Fame. Otis Anderson, as he's getting support here for his bid for the Hall of Fame. So just a couple of weeks ago, Otis Anderson was announced as one of 167 senior nominees for the 2025 Hall of Fame class. And be honest, guys, it's been a while since he hasn't played. It's been 30 years. And you kind of expect a guy like that to potentially, if he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, be in. So he's got some big name friends, obviously, because he's part of that big blue wrecking crew. You know, that time period where the Giants had some of the best players ever put on a Giants uniform, if not the best. So those guys are speaking up for him, and I love it. Again, I love seeing teammates sticking up for teammates. Harry Carson said, I think he's one of the best running backs I ever faced. You could see him get the ball, and he ran counter to where he was supposed to run, but he got yards on his own because he was running for his life. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Lawrence Taylor, the GOAT, says, I look at a lot of guys that are in the Hall of Fame right now, and I'm saying this guy ain't as good as O.J. Anderson. Back in that day, his stats spoke for themselves. I played against him, and I played with him. He's a hell of a player. When I was playing against him, he was one of the guys I had to look out for every daggone time we played him. He had that little movement where he could jump from one gap to another. He's physical. Not as fast as some running backs, but he's going to pound it out 8 yards, 7 yards a time. And by the time you're done, finished 4 quarters, you're tired of hitting O.J. Anderson. It's a hell of a duo at that point, speaking up for you there. Otis Anderson himself was asked about why he thought he was in the Hall of Fame. And he said, I think because St. Louis left and went to Arizona. I also think that people who had a voice when I was the 8th leading all-time rusher passed away. And there's no one there to validate what I accomplished. And I'm with them on part of that. I think the Cardinals of St. Louis, guys, have been gone now for a few generations. You know, I myself, I'm 42 years old, guys. And I don't see any memories in my database here, really, of the St. Louis Cardinals. And they were there when I was a kid, obviously, but I was so young, I just don't remember it. I mean, it's been quite a while since they moved there. So what kind of love did the Arizona Cardinal fans have for the St. Louis guys? You know, I can't think of, of a scenario like that where I go, okay, this is that kind of scenario. You know what I mean? Like, you get that little with the Raiders, but that was a more recent move. You know, with the Lakers, do you hear them talking about the Minneapolis Lakers at that point? No. They talk about the LA Lakers. You know, and I did look it up to verify. 88 it's when they moved, guys. So yeah, I was 6 years old if I don't remember it. Yeah, it's a shame there. I mean, that article just also should give credit. That was the quotes, I should say, that was an article by Steve Serby of the New York Post. Just want to give credit to where credit's due on that. Here's Otis Anderson's stats, though, guys. 14 years in the league, 182 games, 125 starts, 10,273 yards, the 4-yard per carry average even out, 81 touchdowns, 376 catches, 3,062 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And his first couple of years, guys, was his beast years. Like, after like 6 years, when he's really started getting banged up, he had one injury his 4th year there. But after his first 6 years, that's when the drop off happened because he had injuries. In fact, when the Giants got him, it's because the Cardinals gave up on him, thought he was done. Little they know that it was just he was ready for part 2 of his career there. But his first 3 seasons, again, were his best. We're talking 79 to 81. So before I was even born. He averaged 1,444 yards per season, guys. That's a shnikey load of yards. That's pretty damn impressive. For his career, 2-time Pro Bowler, Offensive Rookie of the Year in 79, 1-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro, 2-time Super Bowl winner, and 1-time Super Bowl champ. When he retired, as we said in his quote he gave, He was the 8th most rushing yards in NFL history. He's now the 30th. He's currently 23rd overall in rushing attempts in NFL history, 112th in rushing yards per game, tied for 20th in rushing touchdowns. So that part's, but here's what I always look at, guys. When I look at a guy and I go, is he a guy who could be in the Hall of Fame? I look at it like, what did he do against the people he played against in that generation? Because I think that's the fair way to do it. If you want to compare, you want to look at a guy like, let's say, Babe Ruth, for example. Let's be honest. Babe Ruth is a fat bastard who could probably never play in modern baseball. Who knows? John Kruk did. He was, Kirby Puckett. I mean, there's plenty of guys who, a couple decades ago were playing still, but that man was the best of his generation by far. I mean, not even close. Guys were hitting 10 home runs. He's hitting 50, 60. You can only compare people against the guys they played in that generation. So Otis Anderson, here's how he did in that generation. And I use the 80s as a decade. Again, he started his career in 79, so it's right at the start of his time. Ended in the early 90s, so that was his time period there. In the 80s, he was the 4th most rushing yards, behind just Eric Dickerson, Walter Payton, and Tony Dorsett. Now, each of those guys had at least 9,000 yards in that time period. He had 7 and change. So he's kind of like the drop-off tier 3, because Eric Dickerson was like the running back of the 80s. Payton and Dorsett, like I said, that's tier 2. Tier 3 would have been starting with Otis Anderson there. He also had the 4th most rushing touchdowns in that time frame as well. So, guys, there's 25 running backs in the Hall of Fame. And the question is, should Otis Anderson be in the Hall of Fame? And I look at the stats, and I look at the numbers. He's in the Ring of Honor with the Giants, where he belongs to be, to the best of my knowledge. And if somebody's a Cardinal fan who wants to correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the Cardinals have done a damn thing with him, which to me is the real travesty. He should be in some kind of, I don't know if they have a Ring of Honor like the Giants have or whatever at that point, but there should be some system for honoring a guy who gave his all and had his best years with the Cardinals. Yet the Giants are the ones that keep giving him accolades and keep, giving him, a chance to have those fond memories there. I'm not sure on the Hall of Fame, guys, to be honest with you. Unless we're a Giants podcast, I want to be legit and give you guys, positivity on the Giants. I'm not sure. I think if it wasn't for the injuries, he would have been in a heartbeat. But, you look at it, again, he's the 4th guy in the stats there. Okay. Do you have 4 running backs of each generation? It's borderline. 112th in NFL history in rushing yards per game. That's a stat that I keep looking at and going, again, the injuries got to him. He was a backup for a few years with the Giants there. I don't know. Honestly, I don't see it, but I also don't feel like I'm 100% qualified because of my age. Because of the fact that I was born in 82, and this guy already had his best years by the time I was born, let alone watching football. So, guys, I want to hear from the OG Giants fans. I want to hear from you all. Otis Anderson, is he a Hall of Famer? Those guys who got to see him play on a weekly basis for years. What do you think? Is he a Hall of Famer, guys? Let us know.
If you like that clip, then you will love the full episodes too. Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.